Very good, Dean.
From the AFTERBUZZ TV studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's The River. Tonight's hosts are Kristen Carney and Molly Harper. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1633. That's 424-256-1633. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AFTERBUZZ TV's River.
Hi everyone, Bing is for doing, and we are here doing another AFTERBUZZ TV after show for ABC's The River, Season 1. Yeah, we're cheering it on. So Season 1, Episode 4, called Peaches. But before we do anything, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Kristen Carney, here with my co-host, Molly Harper.
Hello.
And feel free, you guys, to follow us on Twitter. You can find Molly at twitter.com/MollyComedy, and you can find myself at Kristen Carney, KRSTENCARNEY. Or feel free to give us a call at 424-256-1633. That's 424-256-1633. We have a lot of cool things to talk about tonight. We just watched the 4th episode of The River, as I said, and we have some special segments that we're going to get into later in the episode with our new segment called Spirity Things of the Week.
Yes. Spirit Thing of the Week, right?
Spirity
Things of the Week.
And yes. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to feature different topics of ghosts, different kinds of entities.
Can I make a comment on that?
You sure can.
I was just reading about a little bit about what the director had said, and he said a lot of the show pulls from mythology and those kinds of stories. So I think it'd be really cool for us to tie that in each week.
Yeah, and we have some cool pictures to go along with the Spirity Thing of the Week this week. So if they're not up in this broadcast, you can find them. We'll be tweeting them out, and
right
they're
now,
pretty
I
cool.
think KTLA is on behind us.
Yeah, because that's very very spirity.
Spirity.
It's very, car crashes, people die on the freeway all the time. We think it's very relatable. But anyway. So today's episode, again, like we've said a million times already, it's called Peaches, and we all know why it was called Peaches. But before we get into that, there was a decent amount going on. The first intro to the episode, they bring up the source. And they say Emmett was looking for people he said would, quote, show him the way. But we don't know where his endpoint was supposed to be. So we don't know where he's looking to go and who those people were and what the source is.
The source, from what I gathered tonight, was the source of magic.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that they've said that a couple times now. So where that is, what that is, yeah, we still don't know, but that's what they're looking for. That was what Emmett was looking for.
Do you think we're any closer this episode?
It seems like it. I mean, well, we must be, because if you think about it, we're 4 episodes in. There's 8 episodes this season, so we better be getting close to it. Yeah.
We better be, or we should all just quit now before we're ahead, before we get behind, actually. But I guess I don't really know much more to say about the source. I don't feel like we got that much information, but we know a lot about the Exodus boat. Was the main thing going on in this episode. And I called it initially. I knew those people were bad people because you have the sense. There's nobody floating in the river that's just their normal people. Nobody's normal on the river in the Amazon.
No, not one person or being or animal.
No. So we saw, it was funny how they came in contact with the Exodus because they knew the radio wasn't working.
Right.
The radio hasn't been working.
It hasn't been working for a long time now.
Right. But they were still calling Mayday.
Right.
Mayday, 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 Mayday. And then finally someone came in.
Right.
So, if you're on the boat, you're thinking, oh, yay. But as an audience, you know that.
Oh, no.
Right. That's not going to be good. And so they're invited onto the boat, these people from the Exodus.
Well, first they had a collision with the Exodus.
Right. And it disappeared.
And then it disappeared.
So, you obviously knew something weird was happening.
Yeah.
But I think, Tess and Lena and everybody didn't suspect that boat to be related to the boat that just hit them.
Right.
But clearly it was, because
Right.
it was a ghost boat or a ghost ship.
Yeah.
It's like the Titanic. Just full of death and dead dreams.
Nowadays.
Yeah. So once they got over to Tess's boat, they acting normal, having drinks, being fun, casual, and that energy they're bringing of like, yeah, let's have fun and let's party and let's drink and eat was just so suspicious.
Yeah, it was for sure. And I also found it weird that the woman who was from the Exodus ship was doing the cooking. Shouldn't Tess have been hosting?
Right.
Because they were saying, well, let's welcome you onto our boat since you all are doing us this favor of giving us parts. The least we can do is give you dinner, make you dinner. And they all have this feast and they all have, I'll just say for the lack of tools and supplies they have on the boat, they sure do have plenty of alcohol, it seems. Every episode lately they're drinking something. And so they're all, doing shots and becoming friends. But, yeah, there was definitely underlying something going on, but the only person that really seemed to know that was Jahel.
As usual.
As usual.
But she didn't lead on that she knew even to us, because normally you can get a sense from Jahel that she knows something's going on.
Right.
In this episode, you didn't get any sort of sense at all until pretty much the final scene.
Right.
When she said, there's something up with these guys and this is what it is.
She never really did say.
No, she never ended up saying. And
she just said there's something you need to know. But she never told us what we needed to know.
Right. And we did just get finished watching the episode, so I think we're still trying to process it.
Yeah.
But Jahel didn't seem fazed from one of the guys from the Exodus hitting on her if she knew they were bad. Because if she knew they were bad, she wouldn't have flirted back. And it wasn't until her father came out of the other room
that she stopped flirting.
And when there was no name to the character, I believe he did.
I don't think they gave.
He ran off.
Names, yeah.
So usually she's very strong. She seems like someone who's really resistant.
She seemed like she was flirting. I mean, she definitely seemed interested.
Yeah.
Until her dad walked into the room.
So I'm wondering if she did know, and maybe it didn't hit her until something was up when part of her crew was missing. Mm-hmm. I just feel like that was written differently than it has been for her in the past, because normally you get a sense right away that she knows what's going on.
She'll be like, oh guys, wait,
yeah,
there's something you need to know, and she'll kind of forewarn them.
Yeah, her boobs looked good again tonight.
Yeah, they did.
They were in full force.
They always are.
There's no ghost there. Those are real boobies. Real good looking boobies.
Real sweaty ones again. Oh, so funny.
But I guess that crew, we didn't know they were ghosts until the scene when Captain Kurt fights with the one character, and they show his face flash as ghostly. But at least I'm speaking for myself, have thought all along that Captain Kurt was a bad guy.
Right, we did. And then tonight we started to think, well, maybe he's not.
Right, because his intentions seemed pure.
Yeah, he seemed like he was genuinely trying to protect everyone on the Magus. So.
Right. Which, by the way, Magus, just for our listeners, if you didn't know already, Magus, the name of the ship, and the first episode is named Latin for magician. So,
that makes sense.
I don't know I wonder if the crew on the boat knows Magus means magician, because that ties so much into the entire scenario that they're stuck in right now.
Looking for a source of magic.
Right.
All
so
the things going on.
Coincidental, because you don't name a boat Magus, which
right.
means magic, if you're having no idea that you're about to be eaten alive by magic.
Right.
So very coincidental.
Very, very highbrow.
Very highbrow. My brow's getting high.
I don't think there's a lot of fluent Latin speakers out there, but maybe somebody remembers it from school days.
Yes. So once they get on the boat, we see them, I guess, talk with Lena's father.
Yeah, that was, to me, that was actually the most exciting moment of this series so far, because one of the things I've been saying all along is how badly I wanted to hear a little bit more about their human backstory, because for me that makes it so much more interesting. And I found tonight's episode really great in that way. That from the beginning, it started with that story about, Lena saying, I know everyone's missing Dr. Emmett, but my dad's missing too. And I was like, thank God, I was waiting for her to say something like that. And so I'm glad that was tied in. And when she did see her father on the Exodus ship, I got really excited for a moment, because I was like, oh my God, they found him. This is great. Like, maybe they're obviously not going to find Emmett yet, I would imagine, because we've got to keep the show going. But I was really excited that she found him, and I thought that was a really great moment.
I did
Only
too.
to later discover that it was a ghost and that he was dead.
Right. That was sad. And I have to say, the girl who plays Lena, her name's Eloise Mumford, I thought she did a good job acting.
I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, I felt it.
We got to see a little bit more of her acting chops tonight, because her character was so varied. She, was from the start, when she was being interviewed, doing her interviewing session while playing the accordion, we got to see her kind of reminiscing about her father, and then we got to see her kind of adventurous, tomboyish side as she was going through the Exodus, and then a really emotional scene when she was reconnecting with her dad, and then of course when she found out her dad was dead. I thought she was it was very dynamic.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of that.
It was great.
Yeah. If there's more crew missing, who I don't know off the top of my head, but within that crew, I don't know the names of the other people missing with Emmett, but if we could get some more of that backstory, that would be cool. I mean, we have Jonas now.
Yeah, we have Jonas. We don't really know too much about Jonas's backstory.
No.
A little bit from last week.
Yeah.
But it was nice to see, because we've seen so much as far as the flashback tapes, the lost footage tapes. We've seen so much of Dr. Emmett and, talking to his kids, and scenes from his show Undiscovered Country. And it was really great tonight to actually see a lost footage tape of Lena's dad talking to her. I love how they're starting to incorporate that now, and I hope that they continue to do that, because it makes these characters really more interesting and us to be able to relate to them.
Yeah, definitely. I think as women, we're always looking for that emotional factor.
Yeah.
I think maybe some guys, call us if you disagree, would be satisfied with the action and the horror. But I know for me, I'm not satisfied unless I have some sort of connection. I know.
Well, I think that
I say that to my boyfriend every night.
I think that is true, and I know, my sister watches it with her husband, and they both really love the show, and I think he likes it for all those stereotypical guy reasons, and she likes it as well for those same reasons. But I think she really enjoys. We talked about it a little bit, about those human elements to the show as well. So I think this show can be welcomed by both men and women in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, each episode, if they explored, if they went maybe into Clark's background, I know that Clark and Tess have potentially had some sort of love affair.
Yeah.
If they went into that more, I that would be cool. That would be really cool. And then maybe going into AJ a little bit more, because we almost lost AJ.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
So, and he's English.
Yeah.
So, maybe getting into why he is with an American crew, how he got to America, or the United States, and finding out that backstory, because I do know later we're going to talk about an interview with AJ, whose real name is Sean Parks, but they talk about his character a lot and how they wanted to incorporate people from abroad because it seemed more realistic. So in the casting, they did go back and forth between guys that had great American accents who were from the United States, and then they went back, back to AJ, who's British, and then they eventually decided on wanting to have an international feel because they felt that was more believable than having all Americans. So, which it's justifiable, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
To have,
especially since
people
they're in a foreign location.
Yes, makes sense, but not as easy to understand as we're listening.
Right.
And I know I'm going off track a little bit, but on the IMDb message board for The River, someone did bring up why Lincoln is actually definitely putting on an American accent, and that they they
Did
were
they say
saying
where he's from?
they didn't, but it's very clear. And so I wonder why. Is it hard to find American actors? I'm not discriminating, but it seems like the accent for us, for the storyline, for maybe the first 2 to 3 episodes, was very difficult to understand.
Yeah, well, I've read a lot of articles recently as well about like Australian invasion to Hollywood, so I think that that's going on as well. I don't know if he's Australian or not, but I think that more and more actors who are making their way over, who have a career going overseas, are making their way into Hollywood. And I've read about a lot of American actors and SAG actors being frustrated by that because they're finding it's already difficult to get work. And then to feel like all these people who are famous in Australia or England or whatever, they get to come here and take the roles that they want. They feel like that's not fair. But, it's really about these people already have a fan base and a following, and this show is already international. It's showing in other countries, so maybe that's why they did it as well.
Yeah, I know. I've been to a couple casting workshops where people are Australian.
Yeah.
And it was satisfying to me when the casting director said, "You cannot have that accent." And I was like, yeah, score for me, just because it makes me look better. But clearly that's disappearing, and that was probably only within the last year.
Yeah.
So that's clearly changing. But aside from that, going back to the episode tonight, how do you think they handled the rescuing of Tess and Lena? Do you think that rang true? Did you like that? Did you not like the way they were rescued? Would you have, as we spoke as we were watching it, I would have loved if they left it as a cliffhanger. If they were like cutting right when Lincoln gets to the Exodus. Cut there.
Yeah.
End episode. Next week we start figuring out if they're going to be rescued or not.
I agree. I feel like the first couple episodes of the series were left with cliffhangers, but the last 2 weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that would have been great. But as for how they went about it, basically the whole tale was that they had to be rescued by sunrise or they were going to be stuck on that boat forever. But so what we're supposed to, I guess, assume is that the people who were stuck on the Exodus have been on there for a really long time. And when Tess showed up on the Exodus and said to the lady who we don't know her name, I don't think they ever told us her name, the African American lady, I don't know what her name was, do you?
No.
So when Tess said to her, this boat is so old, how long have you been on it? Like, insinuated that perhaps this boat could have been 50 years old, that these people could have been on there forever. But I wish they had gone into a little bit more detail, because I think it would have been kind of interesting and fun if they had maybe played with that a little bit more and shown that these people maybe were stuck on that boat for years. Or
yeah, definitely seeing their transformation, because
exactly.
She said something like, you'll become things that you never imagined you could become.
Yeah.
So if we saw, we clearly
like,
saw
what
what
did
they,
you become?
we saw the transformation of them turning back into ghosts,
yeah,
or into dead souls, or whatever they were. It would have been cool to see them stuck in the scenario, freaking out the way the crew on Magus is freaking out right now, because Lena and Tess and Lincoln and Clark and everybody could be in the beginning phases of what they're going through.
Right.
But I guess I'm wondering am I missing something from the episode? What caused the people on the Exodus to get in that scenario? Because if you remember from last week's episode, Jonas got in his predicament because he was a theft, because he stole from graves.
Right.
So he got himself into that predicament. Did they ever explain from this episode how these people ended up being lost souls on this boat? Did I miss that?
No, I don't think they did. And that's what I'm saying. I wish that had happened a little bit more.
Right.
But we don't really know why.
Right. And this is all coming from the source, right? All of these people, and bear with me, I'm still trying to process and just figure out the way the series is going and their intentions.
Yeah.
It's from each episode, from episode 1 to episode 4, is everything that's happening on on every episode, be it the dolls in the forest, to the Manchegos, to the ghosts on the ship just, rocking fiercely, to the tattoo. Is this all coming from one place?
I think that's what we're supposed to assume now.
Okay, because they're all so different. Each
so
episode's plot line and storyline has the running theme that they're looking for Emmett. But in terms of the spiritual, paranormal magic that's happening, it's so different from each episode.
And I think that's what, like what I was saying earlier, the director was saying that they took so many different folklore and mythology to tie it in. So maybe each week they're taking in something like that. And I wish we had time to research it, but unfortunately we start the show right after we finish watching it. So it'd be cool to be able to delve into that a little bit more and see where those tales came from or what their source was.
Yeah.
But
I will tell you, it is hard to research stuff going on in the Amazon for the show when every time you type in Amazon, it's Amazon.com. So if you're searching, if anyone's Googling, were there spirits in the Amazon? Is there a haunted history? It's very difficult because if you type in haunted history Amazon, you're going to get Amazon.com, haunted history of Hudson River.
Yeah.
And then, different Mississippi River. So it's really frustrating. So Amazon.com, if you guys want to just shut your site down for maybe 24 hours and let me research this, I'd really appreciate it because I don't do libraries. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure they're listening.
They've got nothing better to do. Anyway, so that is a little bit tricky. I have looked. I'm not seeing that there is actually any factual storylines taken out of Brazil or the Amazon, or in terms of, if anyone knows anything differently, please let us know, because I have been searching and I'm not finding that. But regardless, they're getting into a lot of predicaments. It's interesting. I do find the paranormal to be disturbing, and so if this is actually taken from real mythology, then that is very disturbing.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
With the birds falling, we should look into what that meant.
We could look that up and tell you all each week.
We're just gonna sit here with Google. We're gonna get an iPad.
Yeah.
We're just gonna Google. This whole podcast is gonna be silent because we're gonna be Googling
the whole time. What does this
It'd
mean?
be more interesting that way.
What
Silence.
does that mean? One of the things, though, when the people of the Exodus were on board of the Magus, and Kurt caught one of them saying to another, "They're no good to us dead, at least not yet."
That was cue that they were ghosts from the Exodus.
Right, but it's what did they want from them? What does that mean? They're no good to us.
Well, they wanted them on the ship. That
but
was
why?
Because that was the whole storyline of, if they get them on the ship, they take the place of the people on the Exodus so that the people on the Exodus can go free. So that's why they drag them onto the boat, because if I wish I had names for the people from the Exodus,
Right.
but if the Exodus guys, homies,
Yeah.
got these people off of their boat, the Magus, and got them onto the Exodus, there were 4 people on the Exodus. If they got 4 people from the Magus to take their place and keep them there, I mean, it's pretty convoluted,
Right.
but keep them there overnight until sunrise, then Lena, Tess, Captain Kurt, and I can't remember, and who was the last person? Or the father? They will end up taking the place of the people on the Exodus, so they can go free and they can get off the river. But they said before that scene really exploded.
So that ship
The Exodus was just a ghost ship, and those people were stuck on it. And if they got 4 people to take their place, they were free. They were free to leave the river, but they could not leave the river. They couldn't exit the river until someone took their place. So the other thing I wasn't really sure of was when they did finally get stuck on the Exodus, the crew there, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
The ship caught fire and kind of burned up.
Yeah.
But that confused me, because did they only get one try to get people on? Because if the people didn't stay on from the Magus, they'd still just be ghosts. Right. Wouldn't you just stick around and try to find more people? And I know they said they hadn't seen people for 6 months.
Right.
Or something like that. So I'm not really sure exactly the logistics there for those ghosts. Logistics are kind of tricky for ghosts.
Yeah.
How are we going to get out of here?
I don't think we know the logistics for any of the spirit things so far. But I guess, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So next week, we didn't see a preview, but I'm assuming there's going to be no connection really from, these ghosts because they're gone.
One thing we've noticed and that we talked about earlier is that you could technically watch this show at any point and not have seen prior episodes because they're not really connecting. So, like, if you started watching episode 5, it would actually be okay if you hadn't seen the first 4 because they're not continuing the story. They're not really leaving you on a cliffhanger anymore.
Right.
I mean, the main story that's continuing is the search for Dr. Emmett, but as to what happens from episode to episode, yeah, you can't kind of pick up anywhere.
They're kind of one-offs.
Exactly.
They do stand on their own, so,
you can start watching.
You can pick up that remote, get into it, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're flipping the channels and you do happen to stop on it, that's great because you can watch it. But if, something like, I always refer to Boardwalk Empire, but you can't really pick up on one episode of Boardwalk Empire because there's such a backstory.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to maybe get new viewers, but maybe it's not a great way to hold on to the old viewers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe they're evening out from that strategy. I don't know if it's an intentional strategy.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But seeing as it is that each episode is kind of left off that way, I'm starting to think they must have meant to do it that way.
Right. And we did have one scene where Jonas asks with the camera what's going on between Lena and Lincoln.
Yeah.
And Lena kind of blushed.
She kind of blushed and avoided the question.
Right, but I think that Jonas was flirting with her because I think
Big
Jonas
time.
has a thing for her.
Yeah, and I felt like we saw a little bit of
wouldn't?
that
They have to. Let's get real here, people. I feel like I'm on NPR right now.
Yeah.
They have to get horny after a while, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. We're getting real. This is real time. Not with Bill Maher though. It's with us.
Yeah, I think that he was definitely flirting with her, and I think she was flirting with him too. Remember last week's episode when she interviewed him for the job? Right. Remember that?
Yeah.
She was definitely flirting with him.
Yeah.
So, I think he was digging to try to see, like, is there something going on between you two? Because if there is, maybe he wasn't going to try to work his way in.
Yeah.
But I think something might happen between Jonas and Lena.
Yeah, I'd like to see some more connections.
Like something to happen.
Yeah, a little bit more physicality between the crew because they've been on a boat for a while now together.
And there's a lot of tequila.
Right. We don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah,
but it is South America, so
yeah.
Tequila flows basically probably in
the
Amazon.
Typically when one is scared, you do run into the arms of someone else.
Right.
So you think that would happen.
Yeah. Well, Lena is brave because she was sitting on the edge of the boat
she
like
was.
that. I think a hand from the river was going to reach up and pull me in.
That's what I thought. I thought, oh my God, why is she sitting on the edge of that boat?
I can barely lay on the bed and let my arm lay off the bed without thinking like something's going to reach up and grab my arm.
You've seen too many horror movies.
Yep. Ever since I was a kid, it was the arm thing, and then I can't sleep with my hair off my ear. Like, I don't know how guys with short hair do it, because if my ear is exposed, I'm just waiting for like a ghost to blow in it. Just like, I can't. I cannot not have hair over my ear.
I have a weird one. I can't sleep without the covers like slightly over my head, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I have like a breathing hole.
Yeah. That Kenner might accidentally one day cut off. No, her husband.
That's funny.
What time? Do you know the time? Just by curiosity, out of curiosity. We're at 28 minutes right now. Okay. I do want to talk more about Peaches, because I think we did talk about how Lena really did a good job acting, and that it was a really nice backstory.
Really nice, yeah.
But let's get into maybe why her father was taken and not Emmett.
By the Exodus?
Yeah. Do you have any theories?
I don't know.
That is a hard question.
That's a really hard question.
That's why I asked you, because I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, like last week, why was Jonas strangled and not Dr. Emmett?
Well, because Jonas was the thief.
He was filming, yeah, but it was still under Dr. Emmett's authority.
Right.
So
if we could
this
go
whole
back,
project is under Dr. Emmett's
watch.
Exactly. So everybody seems to be getting in trouble except for him so far.
Well, we did get some information from Russ, who was Lena's father. His name is, Russ Landry, I'm sorry. And so Russ said, your father was so involved in what was going on, this magic, that he was losing himself.
Yeah.
He probably became very OCD, very obsessed, probably wasn't acting normal.
He wasn't sleeping. He said I go into his room at night sometimes and he wasn't sleeping, and there'd be weird things, and then they cut to like old footage of like feet on the wall.
Right. So I'm assuming that, Emmett was perhaps already having some sort of spiritual experience because he had feet walking up the wall, on the ceiling. They did show, I believe it was last week's episode, they showed Dr. Emmett swatting away that bug that embodied his spirit.
Right.
Which they haven't followed up on that yet, because we saw in the first episode Jahel was possessed by this bug, which came out to be Emmett.
Yeah.
So that bug was flying around Emmett's head last episode. The first episode, it embodied Emmett. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if that's the answer. But I don't think they would lay it out that obvious for us yet.
Especially not this
soon.
Early. Yeah.
But they're leading to hints like this bug has some part of Emmett somehow.
Yeah.
If there is a resolve at the end of the season where Emmett is, I think that will definitely be part of the answer.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I feel like Emmett was doing everything right. He was doing everything honestly. And I don't really know what a spirit would want with him specifically, because he does seem like he was a good person. And he was documenting it and looked healthy. So the sudden just loss of him, I think, was a bug. I think we got a badass bug. Someone needs to swat this bug.
That's funny. I don't know.
But that's basically, I think they put Russ there today in the episode to, one, obviously show some humanity, communicate with Lena, but also to kind of give us a little bit more of a glimpse into Emmett, because I think as we go each episode, we're going to find more of the crew from his crew.
Yeah.
His crew from his crew.
The crew from his crew.
That's the crew. Because we did see Jonas and we saw Russ this week.
It's nice being introduced to these new characters.
Yeah, they got to keep it fresh somehow.
Yeah.
Because if it's just the same people over and over on the river, you know, you get a little bit stuck. But anyway, so I don't know. My overall feelings on the episode, I thought they did a good job keeping me interested. Mm-hmm. I thought it was very heartwarming, which is surprising, but I did find it creepy. I didn't think it was as scary as other episodes.
No, me either.
I definitely...
Maybe we're getting immune.
Yeah, I think we are getting immune, but I think it's definitely not as scary as...
It wasn't a very scary episode.
No, because they had used before the doll heads and the monkey with the mask, which I still think to this point was the scariest thing. That was creepy, with that monkey with like the human face mask on its head.
More scary.
Yeah, so this episode, I think they kept it pretty mild. And I think that if they pick it up next week with a little bit more scary, I think they'll fall back in line with their selling point. But this week just seemed more of drama between people,
right,
and less between spirits. I mean, obviously we have the Exodus, but that whole time those people were perceived as humans. So we didn't have creepy ghosty things popping their heads in all the time.
Well, I think it's good that it's going in this direction, and I think it'll make people more interested to keep on watching. And I was reading an interview with Leslie Hope. She plays Tess, and she said, this interview came out, prior to the pilot, but she was saying how the first season is so full of so much action, which we've obviously seen, and she said, I hope that if we have a second season, we can dive into more of those moments of backstory and human relationships. And she's like, because that, for me as an actor, that's where, it's really fun and interesting. And I was thinking about it, so maybe while the actors were filming this, they actually went to the writer's room and the producers and said, maybe they threw in some suggestions or something like that to have more
Right.
of these kinds of stories.
Because we need to know what motivates these people to stay on the boat. Because
to keep searching for Emmett too.
Right, because obviously we know Tess, that's her husband. Emmett is Lincoln's father. So we know why they're there to an extent. But everyone, and Lena, of course. But you know, taking acting classes, you hear, you can be saying the word yes, but underneath you're saying something else in your head because you come from a background, you have a story,
right,
and that your story defines your everything. And so if someone asks, you know, Lena if she wants a shot of tequila, she could say yes, but she's maybe saying yes because she's an alcoholic or because you know, she wants to forget about her father being dead. We need to like see maybe more motivate. Maybe they are showing it, but having a backstory shows their motivation and choices they make.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
We are all complex, except me.
And yeah, and getting to see those sides of them. Like, I felt like tonight we really got to see Lena like a real human being, you know.
Except a really pretty human being.
A really beautiful. So
she can't be real. Doesn't make her real.
It was funny because you said that you read the character breakdowns, and when they did the character breakdown for Lena, they described her as like a tomboy, like an outdoorsy. I was like, she is the most gorgeous outdoorsy tomboy.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job at fulfilling.
Great highlights.
They did do a pretty good job at fulfilling the roles, because if you go on IMDb on the message board, it will say spoiler, but they have the breakdowns of the characters, and I think they did a pretty good job at casting. It was pretty right on. But anyway, I think we're going to take a commercial break, and we're going to come back and do the spirity thing of the week and get into some news and gossip and predictions.
AfterBuzz TV.
Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after-shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
Welcome back to AfterBuzz TV's episode 4 of The River. You're here with Molly Harper and Kristen Carney, and we are breaking down this episode called Peaches. Peaches for You, Peaches for Me. A really old, awesome song from the 90s. But we are going to get into our new segment that we're going to be doing every week called The Spirity Thing of the Week. And we are going to break down some different entities and things that maybe you'll find in the show. Today we are going to be talking about something that is super creepy that I feel so scared that I will experience one day in my life. And that is basically oh my god, what's it called again?
Paranormal?
No, sleep paralysis. Yeah, because I want to say paranormal. It's sleep paralysis.
You've never experienced it?
I think I've never experienced it, but I have woken up in complete fear and have felt kind of frozen, but I could move, but it just was like this weird frozen feeling because I was really scared in my nightmare. But there's a lot of folklore behind this phenomenon, which is all associated with having a demon on top of you.
Yeah,
and
holding you down.
Right. So that's why these people can't get up from their sleep. And the original definition of sleep paralysis was codified by Dr. Samuel Jackson in his Dictionary of the English language. He defined it as a nightmare, and a term that evolved into our modern definition. Such sleep paralysis was considered to be the work of demons, and more specifically, incubi, which were thought to sit on the chests of sleepers. In Old English, the name of these beings was Mar, or Mare, M-A-E-R-E, and hence that means nightmare, so hence it comes from nightmare. I don't really know what I'm talking about here. It goes through Swedish folklore, American folklore, Newfoundland. Arab. Yeah, I mean, it's all throughout the world. So it's really interesting to think that something that you might be experiencing 14,000 miles away is happening to someone else.
Yeah, I thought that was, when I read that as well, I thought that was so interesting because it just shows that sometimes, you know, if you experience something like that, you can think, oh my God, am I crazy? Or, God, does anyone else have this? But the fact that, like, every culture pretty much has a name for it, and that their name for it pretty much has the same definition, it's really interesting because it just shows that it seems like that's a human thing that everyone can experience at some point.
Right. Like, I've heard my mom has told stories of in the house she grew up in. I know that you grew up in a house that had a lot of creepy things going on, and the house she grew up in, her sisters and brothers all claimed to wake up in the middle of the night to a dark shadow looming over their bed.
Oof, that just gave me chills.
And my Aunt Karen, who is a woman who does not get emotional, she's very strong, she doesn't really buy into, you know, ghost stories and stuff like that, swears that it happened to her, and she was completely frozen, and she said she did pray to Jesus, and the spirit went away.
Wow.
But they did say
you're supposed to pray to make it to go away.
Yeah. And my mom's family did say that all the ghosts that they experienced in their house, if they must have been different because they know there was something friendly there, and they know there was something wrong there, like something that was angry and something that was more positive.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I just pray that never happens to me. But I will say, actually, maybe it has, and I'm just in complete denial, because when I talked to you recently about the experience I'm having in my apartment,
right,
which has gone down, like, is very not happening, thank God.
Good.
I did wake up one night, and I woke up, but I couldn't tell if I was asleep or awake, and my TV was on, and my bed is right next to the TV, so the TV was really glaring in my eyes. So I opened my eyes, and I felt like there was something in front of the TV, but then I closed my eyes and opened my eyes again, and it was there, and then I closed my eyes and opened it again, and it was gone.
So creepy.
But I didn't know because I was having a nightmare.
Right.
So I didn't know if that was coming from just waking up from this really scary dream I was having about ghosts, you know, because why was I dreaming about one if it was over me?
Well, it's like with sleep paralysis, basically that's what happens, is that you don't know if you're awake or asleep because it feels so real, like somebody's holding you down and you literally cannot move your body, but your brain feels awake and your eyes can be open. So it's a terrifying thing.
Yes, it is. In Fiji, the experience is interpreted as being eaten by a demon. In Nigeria, which it says it's actually far more common among people in Africa, in Nigeria, and they call it the devil on your back. In Turkey, the Islamic beliefs are similar to the demonic visitation, commonly known as Dijin, which I don't know what that is, obviously.
Do you want to tell us about it? He said that he's experienced that before.
You have experienced it before? Oh my gosh, tell us about it. Do you have your mic up? Is your mic up working? We are getting first-hand experience here, guys. Hey, they said it's more common in Africa.
Yeah, you're African American.
He's like, yeah, that's not funny.
Oh, I thought it was kind of funny. You didn't think that was funny at all?
Well,
we can't hear you.
I can't explain it besides...
Yeah, I don't know if I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Weird.
It's the demon. Do you want to speak? Do you want to use mine? We can.
I'm dying to hear your story.
We're working on the technology. It's got to keep up with us. Nope. Ew, it is weird. I don't like that his mic isn't working.
Here we go.
Okay,
oh,
there we go.
Good.
Yay.
The spirit's letting you talk.
So, Yeah, it's happened quite a few times, but I wouldn't say it necessarily feels like someone's sitting on your chest per se.
Hmm.
It normally happens when, like how you're talking about, like when you have a scary dream or something. So it's almost feels like you're being thrown out of this dream. Like you wake up out of this dream, but you can't. You can look around the room and everything. You can't speak, but you can't move at all. So it doesn't necessarily feel like anything is holding you. You just can't move
Yeah.
Yeah.
your body. So I read up on this stuff as well too, and a lot of people say it's just like maybe your spirit or something has been a little displaced or something.
Yeah,
And
people have
you,
described it as an out of body
yeah,
experience.
out of
Yeah.
body experience where you're just a little off at that moment and you
Yeah.
can't speak, you can't move your body, but it doesn't
It's
last long
terrifying.
and then it snaps back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't last long. I've
Yeah.
experienced it too many, many times, but it
Yeah.
never lasts long. But it's interesting because I was reading as well that they say it can often be attributed to having bad wine or bad food,
Yeah.
and that the toxins in the bad wine or bad food
Hmm.
can be released, and that's what takes over. And I wonder if it's true because I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed that when I drink, I have nightmares a lot more frequently.
I have nightmares so often that I don't know what to associate it with.
Do you drink every night?
I wish I could deal with the nightmares if I did. I have nightmares so often, and they sometimes are nightmares about spirits. Sometimes they're
Yeah.
nightmares about plane crashes. They're always coming from different places, so I can never nail it down. But the way that you described it is exactly pretty much what I have felt, and so I was second guessing myself, thinking, well, maybe I haven't had this before, just because I've never had that sensation that like it was an evil spirit on me. But
No.
I've definitely been frozen, like paralyzed. And I know there's also science though that when you sleep, there's some sort of chemical that releases that keeps you from running and keeps you from moving. And so you're waking up before that chemical has time to dissipate.
Yeah.
And so that's why you're frozen. That's what scientists would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
But when you're in the moment, that one experience I had when I opened my eyes and I felt like there was something there. I couldn't move. Closed my eyes again, opened it because I wanted to see. It was like, that cartoon, like, if you're like,
Yeah.
rubbing your eyes to like, did I just see that? And I did, and I saw it again, and then I closed my eyes again, but I really couldn't move, completely in fear. And then it was gone, and then I felt like I could move. So that was the closest thing to maybe something that felt like demonic. But I have had so many nightmares where I've woke up and I cannot move my fingers, my toes, and I just lay there frozen in a pool of sweat.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, I read something really interesting, and it was in Hollywood Reporter, and it was an interview with the director Oren Peli, and he was talking about just being scared in general,
Mhm.
and about fear, and they asked,
Ooh, creepy. We just had an intruder.
"Oh, creepy." The Hollywood Reporter asked him, "How do you explain to the viewers?" How do you explain the viewer desire to be frightened by fare like yours? Which is such a good question because last week I remember telling Kendra, and you weren't here, I was like, I wish that the show was scaring me a little bit more because right now it's not.
Yeah, it's like you're on a roller coaster that doesn't have any huge dips, and you just
Yeah.
like want that huge
I'm like,
dip.
I
You
want to
need
be
the rush.
freaking out because a couple times I was, like the first 2 episodes, I was like, ah! And anyway, so Oren Peli's answer to that was, I have a theory. Thousands of years ago, you'd sleep in a cave and you had no idea if you were going to wake up in the morning. A tiger could come in and eat you alive, and every day was a fight for survival.
Welcome to LA.
Yeah, well, he gets to that. You had this daily adrenaline rush as you went to hunt or whatever it was that you would do. Now, our lives are pretty calm. Merging on the freeway is the closest you get to risking your life. So what's missing now is that primal emotion of being scared to death. And I think that's why people crave thrills like roller coasters or scary movies. They give you the chance to feel this very primal emotion in a very controlled environment, which I thought was so fascinating as well, because I wonder, when we were talking about sleep paralysis just now, all of us have experienced it. It seems like everyone in the world has. I wonder if we give ourselves these nightmares to experience that primal fear of adrenaline rush, because it is a primal fear, and then you wake up and you go, oh, thank God I'm alive.
Yeah. Well,
Like, thank God I'm okay. And you like need to have that moment to like calm down. And he thinks it's literally a primal instinct. And
Well, it
I think
is.
that's really fascinating.
It is very primal, and off the top of my head, I cannot remember the name of this documentary, but if anyone's interested in calling in again and letting me know, it was a study of stress and what stress does to the body, which is adrenaline, which is fear, and as much as we want it and as much as it's natural, it takes years off our life, because when we are scared from watching a movie or we're stressed out in traffic, that takes years off our life. It's the equivalent of smoking. And if you test, this whole documentary, this guy was really interesting. He studied apes, and he studied apes in a stressful environment and then apes in a non-stressful environment. And the apes that were in the non-stressful environment were much friendlier to each other, but they also lived a lot longer. And when we experience something that's scary, that Warren would like us to see, we release the same things that a zebra releases when he's getting attacked by a lion. So we're using this, we're releasing these damaging chemicals, and it just is like a natural drug.
So basically, when we watch this show, we're slowly dying.
Yes. Welcome to AfterBuzz TV. But of course, in little bouts, it's not going to kill us and give us cancer. Maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe these headphones are going to give us cancer. But it's entertainment, and as long as you're entertained, you can relax in certain ways.
Yeah.
Sit back, have some popcorn, drink out of your AfterBuzz TV mugs, and chill out. But I think next week we'll maybe look into different types of demons. Since this week we talked about maybe a demon sitting on your chest. What kind of demon is sitting on your chest? And should he shave his legs? That's what we'll get into next week. But right now, I think we'll get into some news and gossip.
Yeah, exactly.
AfterBuzz TV News.
We've got some of the actors from The River being interviewed, some different outlets. This interview is from assignmentx.com. And it was with Sean Parks, who plays AJ, the cameraman on the show. And I thought this was really cool and interesting, and made me a little bit of that, release that stress that gives me cancer. But they asked AJ a lot of questions, generic, about acting and his experience and playing his character. But they also asked him, has anything on set actually scared you? And AJ responded, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he said, being that they filmed this in a haunted old children's asylum, he kind of got scared.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and this was in Hawaii, I believe, because they shot in Puerto Rico and Hawaii. They shot the pilot.
Yeah, the pilot was shot in Puerto Rico, and I got so confused because I didn't realize that they weren't shooting everything there.
Yeah, the rest of the 7 were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And it was at this old children's asylum where the kids were mentally challenged, and next door to the asylum was the cemetery that the kids were buried in. So he said that was really creepy. And apparently the locals all know this asylum. No one goes in it. And
yet they're shooting in it.
Right. So, the crew chooses to shoot there. And some of the stories that are associated with this children's asylum was that there was an employee there who sexually abused the children, and that nurses killed the man who was abusing the children.
Oh, wow.
So this is not written. This is not part of the storyline. This is actually where they were filming. Locals would not go in. They would ask, are you going in there? And he would say yes, and they'd say, you're crazy, I refuse to go in. So that's actually pretty cool, and I hope some of the kids pop up on their own in the episodes.
Creepy. I have another one as far as fear goes. So I guess the actors don't have to act too much to be scared because they're actually scared. But Leslie Hope, who plays Tess, she said in an interview with Variety that she is terrified of water. Terrified of water and terrified of cockroaches. Really? And she said when she got the script, she literally read it and goes, oh, you got to be kidding me. There's no way I'm doing this. And then the scene in episode 2, or episode 1 or 2, when she kind of fell into that swamp and they were trying to pull her out.
Yeah.
Well, that was water. Ooh. And she said, I was not acting. Those were real terrified screams. She's like, I just was freaking out. I'm terrified of water. So I thought that was so interesting, especially considering like the whole thing takes place on the river and everything. She's really scared. Yeah. Another thing that she brought up that I thought was really interesting was that she said, she played Kiefer Sutherland's wife on the first season of 24, and that was so incredibly ahead of its time, the way it was shot and that kind of documenting by the hour. And she said it's interesting as an actor to be on this show where they're aware of the cameras, because it's shot, like with a camera in their face all the time. So, her living the life of someone who knows that there's a camera in their face is like a totally different style and approach, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, because also in the interview with AJ, he talked about how a lot of the actors are actually carrying cameras, and so
cool.
a lot of the shots that we're seeing are shot by the actors.
Oh, cool.
And it's very similar to, they did that in Cloverfield, which actually the guy playing the cameraman was T.J. Miller, who was a fellow comedian that we know, but he was doing that camera work there. But AJ said it was a different experience, and he liked it. It was interesting, and it gave it some real feeling to it, and it gave him a chance to kind of play around and when we saw the shot of Tess when she's looking in the camera, she was probably actually holding the camera.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
It does give it a homemade, gritty feel.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Well, very cool. And another thing, someone mentioned this. I'm just obsessed now with the IMDb message board. Someone brought up that they're speaking Spanish in Brazil, which should be Portuguese.
Yeah.
And then someone else brought up, who I'll give credit to, Gromit Dave, just said, well, so don't be too concerned that they're speaking Spanish, because although the most common language is Portuguese, the second most common is Spanish.
Oh, okay.
So we can all rest easy that they're speaking Spanish.
I wasn't resting easy over that.
Nope. But next week we'll go over an interview that we got with Paul Blackthorne, who plays Kurt, or not Captain. This Captain Clark and Kurt is killing me.
I know. He plays Clark quietly, which is hard
Clark,
to say.
thank you. Yes.
Clark quietly.
Yes,
It's really
I have to
hard
say
to
that
say.
quietly. But yeah, so that's our news and gossip, and now we're going to transition over to our predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Do you have any?
That theme song is perfect for the show because it's very creepy.
Yep.
I think for next week, I think we're going to see some love. I think we're going to see love blossom between perhaps Jonas and Lena.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that will definitely happen. I think maybe perhaps some jealousy on behalf of Lincoln. And I imagine that they'll run into a new source of weird spirit thing.
You are smart.
Yes.
What gave that away?
Because every week is different.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen with the actual spirits next week, but
I
I'm
imagine
sure
it will be a new manifestation. Every week it seems to be a new manifestation, so it's like, what will that be?
Right. So I think we'll see some definitely more family stuff going on in terms of Lena and Lincoln and Jonas. So I think we've got a little love triangle they were creating this episode, and I'm looking forward to getting perhaps another backstory to another character.
Yeah.
Because they seemed to do one last week, one this week, and hopefully one next week.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, you guys, thanks for listening. This has been the AfterBuzz TV's podcast for The River, Season 1, Episode 4, called Peaches. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And if you want to ever follow us on Twitter, you are more than welcome. I'm Kristen Carney, and you can find Molly at Molly Comedy. And we will see you next week.
See you soon.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.